and Rek'Sai ganking early jungle to try and shut down GP. And, you know, it worked okay. They got pretty big CS lead on Capushot, but it wasn't enough because the rest of the team then couldn't really punish H2K last week. This one, however, when you play against Elements and Spraddle, you ban Alistar, because it is by far his best champion, and honestly, he still hasn't really performed too well on anything else but the Alistar.
Well, he's going to have to find something else to perform on today, Officio, because last week, Elements had a rough week, 0-2. See how they're going to handle themselves against Vitality. Graves and Lulu taken away. The Lulu, I think, is a bit of a bait trap. Currently 3-7 in LCS with Ryze as the last ban. And over for Vitality, I mean, Corki's still up and available. Poppy still up and available.
Yeah, definitely.
What are they considering as a final ban to go with Alistar and Kalista?
Well, you just mentioned two of the very big picks. What Vitality can do is just ban none of them and say we're going to trade at least. You get one of them, we get another one, plus an additional super strong pick in the current meta. One of the issues is there are so many good picks at the moment that you often get them in the second rotation if you're Elements. So they give out GP again. This is what we have seen before. First time Elements are playing it. And
it didn't work when Vitality did it last time, but that was into Odawamne's GP, and they picked Olaf. So can Steve or Ica, depending on where the GP goes, do what...
It's always interesting. It's always interesting when a team has banned the same champion in every single game, because that tells you...
Oh, Cavo played to the camera. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
So, I just got distracted.
He actually prepared that one, by the way, at home.
Lucian Corki, is this the lock-in here?
You want to go Corki almost every single time it's open, so yes, it should be for them. And the reason this is very good by Vitality, if you look at the pick and ban phase, is they ban Kalista themselves, and there are 3 top-tier AD carries right now. Kalista, Corki, Lucian. So when you ban one of them, in your first rotation on red side, it's almost always fantastic to just lock in 2 of them. Unless it's Lucian Kalista, that's why you also ban the Kalista. So you can take Lucian AD carry, and you can take Corki mid lane, where he's also better than actually down in the bottom lane. So I really like this rotation from Vitality. It pushes Mr. Morales, most likely to a Caitlyn. We have seen Ezreal a few times. MF has been played. As well, there's not been a guaranteed number 4 AD carry. Right now, I think every team has their own preferred number 4 AD carry. In this case, we might have a massive wombo combo almost. MF ulti into Gangplank ulti, barrels, you know, can really be very explosive team fights.
Yeah, but nobody's going to stick around in them. Lucian can dash away, Corki can Velk out, Elise can repel up, and if anybody is somehow trapped, they're going to get gobbled up by Tahm Kench. Now, is this Tahm for Cabo or Tahm for Kasing?
I would almost always say it's going to be Tahm Kench top from what we have seen, but it is still a flex pick. And we have to go really far back to find a game where Capushot was playing just a pure tank up in the top lane.
That's why I'm wondering.
Especially also because Tahm Kench's damage got nerfed on this patch. So Capushot should hit it even more than before. Then again, I wouldn't surprise me to see it go top. Lucian bot lane, you can pick a support now with it. You're against the Thresh, so it's a difficult lane to play into. Vitality will definitely be looking to a lane swap almost no matter what they pick as support. When against MF and Thresh, there's a super deadly 2v2 lane. And
you look at the rest of Element's composition, a lot of ranged poke and heavy AoE. Victor, MF, Gangplank, Nidalee, no front line to speak of on the side of Elements, so no room for error when it comes to positioning.
Super scary comp to play. Yes, you have a lot of AoE wombo combo damage on your side. So it's gonna be Tahm Kench heading to the bottom lane.
Yeah, so let's...
Corki's going top lane. Interesting.
Are we... This has to be.
I mean, this must be Corki top then, with Ari being locked in. So we've now seen Corki get triple flexed, basically. AD carry mid laner and top laner from Vitality. First time we see this in Europe. For sure. I don't even remember seeing this in LPL or LCK as well.
I do not think I've seen a Corki top lane. So by Vitality and Elements, we have no...
Wait a minute. This we have definitely not seen before. Lucian top lane for Capushot.
What does this mean? Explain it to me.
Okay, so I mean, Lucian has a very, very strong laning phase. He's very good in especially like 1 to 6. And Lucian, if you think back to when the lane swap meta was often like you had your AD carry sit on 1v1, Lucian was very strong because he's so good in 1v1s. He's very mobile, he can escape, he gets extra range when he gets like rapid fire cannon, his ulti is very good when you zone someone off or poke someone off. So this to me is just a lane bully pick from Capushot top lane with the Lucian. Gonna be the most awkward TP gank ever. But his laning phase should be very, very strong with an 80 carry top, because Lucian is so good in the first early levels.
TP into culling. That's what we're looking
That's
for.
the crazy one.
Come on, Cabo, pull it off. On the other side of the spectrum, Steve is going to have maybe more headroom the later this game goes with some teleport ganks on that gangplank with Cannon Barrage. Either way, we're loading up onto the Rift for the first game of week 4. There's no major tanks to speak of. Guys, jump on Twitter. You know the deal. Tell us who you think's going to pick this one up.
But hey, I mean, we talked about it, right? Normally you would say that Tom Kench would go top lane. But when it is Capuchard,
yes, I don't see him on a tank.
It's just not his style, and it's like Vitality likes to play around Capuchard a lot with Shook, and you don't want him on tank. Oh, he's hooked now.
This has already been caught, but Kasing has gobbled up Cabo, spat him out backwards, and Sprattle gets hit by the Orb of Deception. Nobody goes down in the trade, though.
Interesting stuff. I like when we get some of these surprises, because we are surprised. I'm sure Elements is looking at this being like, what is going on? Lucian top lane. Technically in a lane swap as well, he should be fine, because it's so much about fast pushing towers now. Having an extra 80 carry should do well there.
I mean, all of the tower pushing power, the Lucian, the Corki, even when Elise comes into lane,
yeah, I mean,
form.
That's the thing, like Vitality definitely is looking for lane swap, because again, we talked about in Champs, like against MF and Thresh, like that's a lane you don't want to deal with 2v2. And then I can see just the Lucian, because he's an 80 carry as well, can help fast pushing down. And it's very important when it comes to pushing these towers. Even 5-6 seconds can mean the difference between you picking up 3-4 extra CS for your top laner, which can then mean he gets an extra level, and so on and so on. So like it's small things that can slowly but surely snowball. For now, we actually see Elements starting on the weak side with their jungle and top laner, and now Vitality is going to invade in. We've seen this before. Last time they got collapsed on and died. But this time around, nobody's there to trap them. They didn't stop the blue buff. They came in very late. There's a little bit of a sloppy start from Vitality. They wanted to stop this blue buff from happening, because you can see how Shook is starting on his strong side. Yeah. So he's only going to get red buff now, and then he just has to do camp. So he's not going to get a blue buff, because he can't really go bottom side when the rest of his team is on top side. It's a little bit too late from Vitality. Maybe they were talking too much about Lucian top and what was going to happen.
I can't wait to hear from the players exactly how this pick and ban played out. It was an Ahri last pick, so they committed to that Lucian/Corki top lane with their last pick. And again, Cabo not playing the tank, so I want to see how he plays out. Cabo has traditionally been very good in lane, and he's currently not there just yet. Still playing the lane swap shenanigans.
I mean, he's been the best laning top laner, but he's also the guy getting probably the most help from his jungler. In Shook always being around, Vitality putting a lot of resources towards Capuchard. But it also did mean that Iker was like, okay, I'm gonna take Victor, save wave play into Corki, and then he gets super surprised because an assassin gets picked into it. And what often happens in those lanes is the assassin will have the control and pushing power until Victor gets his first upgrade on his Hex Core, you know, he gets a bit of AP and he can start wave playing quickly. Otherwise he's gonna get pushed down to his tower, and there's a risk of him dying, potentially.
Yeah, risk. There are masteries still. Slew of Thunderlords across the...
Look how fast Elements, how fast Vitality are compared to Elements. Tower's already down. This is what we talk about. Extra seconds, and we need to look at how much Capuchard can pick up in this extra time, because look at the bottom lane now. Coming down here from Vitality to this tower. So they're gonna stop Steve from ever freezing. Like, he's literally gonna kill the tower and recall and get nothing. But Capuchard is sitting top now, if you look at your minimap, and he's just getting extra CS and extra experience.
And that wave is pushing towards him as well.
Steve doesn't even get the tower. It's just way too delayed from Elements.
Trying to deny too many CS.
Yeah, but really, really poorly executed lane swap now, and clearly getting surprised at the speed. Vitality could take down that tower with double 80 carry, and then swap him back down. So this is really bad for Elements now.
So Capuchard's cleared out that big wave that was pushing into him. Sent it back towards the inner turret.
Okay, this does give Elements a little bit of a chance, because now Steve needs to go top lane and take the wave that's pushing to him. You always want to send your weak member, the top laner, to the wave pushing towards him in the safest lane, because he's obviously now, he's a little baby, he's not really very strong, and you have to just always cater around him. So he's going to get this wave because Capuchard decided to push it out. He was expecting Rallis and Sprattle to show up, so this is okay for Steve, but he's still going to be behind, obviously, but he gets something now.
It is a big deal when you consider the power that Capuchard on Lucian is going to have. in contrast to Gangplank that really needs 3 items to become the absolute monster that we know from Gangplanks. Admittedly, it is a nice jump with each of those items leading up to 3. So the wave continues to push forward. Cabo, 2 levels up and 16 CS for now at 5 minutes.
Yeah, at least again, as we mentioned, Steve will get something.
Yeah. I mean, that's a wave and a half in front of him.
Had this wave not been pushed out by Capo Short, Steve would be stuck in the bottom lane, and they would try and mirror how quickly you could take down the enemy tier 1 tower. But Vitality would be so far ahead they could just set up a TP dive on Steve and kill him, and he wouldn't get anything. Gilius. Just saying hello.
Big hit from the love tap from Gilius, making it clear that he's there. So Gilius been farming up a storm, 23 CS versus the 15 of Shook. And then mid and 80 carry both sitting even. Vitality got themselves a 1,000 gold lead thanks to the early tower and the big CS advantage that Cabo's been able to farm up.
Definitely a great swap from Vitality, and then Cabo just getting a little bit greedy on pushing out the wave, expecting Rallis to show up and push it back. Anyway, Vitality can still be very happy with what's been going on. He's even gonna TP straight back into the face of Steve near the tier 2 tower, because look behind him, he has Shook as well. Yeah. Just providing some assistance. You want to push it in. You don't want to have Steve just slow pushing it out, picking up too much farm. Get these minions into the tower, let the tower kill them, and then slowly get it pushing back towards Vitality.
Yeah, he picked himself up that serrated Dirk as well.
I love the Dirk, man.
Lane. And for Cabo and Vitality, continuing to keep Steve on the back foot. Piercing Light will force Steve away, missing more CS, more experience, at least for a couple of those. And Gilius isn't going to find anything either, because Shook, I don't think he was spotted. I didn't see.
He did show at the tower.
Ah, there we go.
But still, I mean, GP early on doesn't have proper wave clear. He can't really do anything to stop this. Nidalee's the same deal. So Vitality will always have the pushing power in this 2v2, as long as they don't look for an open fight where they can get bursted down. So just push it in, they reset it. Steve gets denied even more. And man, he's definitely in trouble.
Well, if there's any player that's going to know what it feels like to fall behind and get punished early, it's Steve. From the time he joined the LCS, everybody has played to his lane and tried to punish him. Let's see what he can do on Gangplank. I want to talk about the itemization of the mid lane, because we've seen glimpses of Nukeduck and Icat just trading farm. Negatron Cloak for Nukeduck, so expecting the Abyssal first.
For sure.
Are you still expecting the Spooky Ghost or 6-2, or are we going Morellonomicon next?
I think we're going to see Abyssal into Morellonomicon is more likely. After now the cooldown on the Spooky Ghost have been increased by 50%, so the item itself is still good. Like if just the pure item, you get so much mana regen, very cheap, and you get extra gold from it. But I think now with the extra nerfs, especially because Nukeduck has a fine landing phase, he's just basically farming even at the moment, so he's not going to get denied anything. I think we're most likely to see Morellonomicon come in for him as the second item.
We'll see how that pans out.
Ganking Lucian.
Yep, ganking Lucian. There's no TP, so we're not going to see the TP culling. And it's
tax the lane, tax it.
Super just helping Nukeduck.
He's going to go back top. Not a whole lot there from Capo Short.
Also want to mention that Sprottle's only the Ignite down bottom as opposed to Exhaust. We'll see if that helps him getting kills. So far, the 2v2 between Kiana and Mr. Ralls has gone fairly neutral. Chaos Storm actually from Ica. Just to push that wave out. It's not the greatest of cooldowns, and we did see Ralls take the tower, so evens out the gold between both teams.
And that's the thing, even with that bad start from Elements in the swap, because as highlighted a few times, Capo Short pushed the lane up top. It allowed Elements to actually get standard lanes a lot quicker than they were supposed to. So MF and Thresh got into the 2v2 lane, got to take down that tower, and nothing has really been happening ever since. They've just been kind of farming even. You can see Steve is trying his best to try and catch up in farm. Both junglers have kind of been babysitting the top lane. As you can see, Gilius is sitting here now trying to set up a sneaky gank. Capo Short is going to push out, you know, on his own and not think there's anyone there. But he's been smart enough to place a ward. Gilius is going to waste his time. And not a whole lot is going to happen there.
No, definitely not. Capo Short going to fall prey. And Steve is using that parlay to farm up the minions. Still very heavily down. The package has spawned for Hyanan in the base, so next time he recalls, see how much gold actually has to pick up. Currently sitting only at 600. Be a little while. But I like seeing how teams make use of that first package, which lane they decide to impact, especially if Steve continues to push up top, could be in trouble. Tower down bottom, being shoved in. Cannon Barrage to clear out the minion wave. And the Death Sentence catches a minion. Sparkle not finding the right one. Kasing will be eating up Shook and fairly easy escape. They get Gangplank's ultimate too.
So what we just saw here is actually one of the reasons Gangplank is such a good pick. The fact he has a global ulti you can use as a wave clear. So much of the current meta is about setting up these big minion waves and push them into tower. He can break that with his ulti. Now Copper Shot might get ganked. Nukta can move up and help him though.
Alright, let's see if Gideus wants to chase. Cabo was
No. Your mid laner is gone, so you can't.
able to walk away. I was getting way more excited than I should have been for that potential gank.
It's very interesting also to see the back timer for both mid laners. Both of them actually went back when they didn't really want to. Because Nukta only got a Negatron cloak on his first back, so he had like no kill pressure in lane. Now he has the full Abyssal. IK went back and had to go for cooldown reduction because he couldn't upgrade his Hex Core because he didn't have 1,000 gold. So both of them kind of like, 800 gold, not enough to really do anything. Now we might see more action. Nukta has a lot of kill pressure. Ignite, reduce MR. I want to see them try and set him up. Problem is there's cleanse on IK, which obviously breaks a lot of what Ari can do.
Yeah, that it does. Gilius still continuing to farm up a Storm, by the way. 20 CS up over Shook. Got those Runic Echoes completed. Opting to use the passive, where Shook has already invested in the boots. A full channel culling will get a lot of damage on Steve. Piercing Light comes out. One more hit, and Camo Shot. 1v1s for first blood.
Let's go back to Champ Select. We talked about how good Lucian is in these long lanes, especially in these lane swaps. Because 1v1, he's very, very strong in the early game. He has a lot of mobility. Calling is great when you're chasing down someone. Long range ability. And he's using it perfectly here. Steve was stuck in a long lane. Has to try and push out the wave. Coppershot goes aggressive. I'm pretty sure they spotted Gilius on the bottom side of the map. And then you can go aggressive knowing the jungler isn't there. And he picks up the kill. Steve just trying to run away, flashing away. Against dashes, calling range. Very difficult for him to do anything, and he probably hasn't played against a Lucian top.
Who has? That is the question. Well, Vitality get themselves the first kill, and look at the vision inside the bottom quadrant of the jungle. With Vitality's Abyssal Voyage, Kasing delivering Shook. They've littered 1, 2, 3, 4, a fifth ward down by the Krugs as well. All the information, so Gilius can't go anywhere.
And we can really see how this Vitality comp is just like come online. Because Corki wants to hit level 6, start becoming very, very strong in the laning phase as well, gets a Sheen. So now he can start pushing the bot lane on his own, or at least go even on his own. That opens up for Kasing to start roaming. Copper Shot, Ghostblade first item. You don't get to go back with 1200 gold very often as a top lane, or 1250 to get a BF sword, so instead you build towards better components towards a good early item in the Ghostblade with a lot of long swords. So he's very strong at this point. Abyssal Scepter, we talked about it. Nukta has kill pressure in mid lane, especially if he gets some help.
So do you believe in the TP Ghostblade ganks? Or is Cabo just going to be playing the split push game?
I believe in him split pushing for the rest of the game, basically.
Oh, I was getting excited. I like the idea.
I don't believe in him making any big TP plays, but that's something Elements can do. Because they have, Gangplank ulti, MF ulti. If they can create a fight on the bottom side of the map, you have that massive zone of damage you can use that is so difficult to deal with from Vitality. So that's where I want to see Elements try and do something. You're trying to gank their mobile Lucian with no CC from Gangplank in mid lane is very, very difficult. Especially because Vitality can always push down the lane and then place the wards you see here. Gilius is going to get 2 wards though, so he can be happy. And now forcing Copper Shot back because no vision. This is not solo queue. You don't keep pushing.
No. All of the wards that the time have been killed down in the bottom half. There's going to be an available Rift Herald available for Vitality.
Another interesting thing.
Tell me.
Lucian top lane. Take down Rift Herald. Take the Rift Herald buff, which is what he's doing. Gangplank can't really stop you. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Buff up your minions, get a bit of damage on tower. This is just constantly like 24/7 tower pressure, push, push. You're just more mobile than maybe a Graves, but you have less burst damage. And you also love squishier.
Yeah, don't have that true grit available to you. But I think some credit here to Steve and Elements. At least using their wave clear, maybe effectively. Maybe Vitality not pushing that hard is probably a more realistic answer here. Steve, 98 CS to 106. So Trinity Force will be close to being completed. Currently on 760 gold. A few hundred away from that. Wow, gonna take a little longer now because he's gone for Ionian Boots. But yeah, I mean, Elements, 600 gold down. No dragon to speak of. One thing to take note of, guys, on 6.2 there is a spectator bug. Baron and dragon timers will not be visible. So we will keep you up to date with how long those are. You can see the first dragon being taken down now, so...
Yeah, and the players obviously have the timer in-game.
Yes.
It's just for us looking down at the game.
Oh, Nukeduck, he's being surrounded, Fisher, and I think he's in trouble. Spur Rush and Flash is available. Let's see if he can dodge the skill shots. That's one Spur Rush, two, the Flay connects. Oh, predicted the death sentence. There's a flash away. Abyssal Voyage comes in from Kasing, but there's not enough damage from Elements. And Nukeduck gets away.
But we can see what Vitality wants to do. 1-3-1, Cabochel one lane, Nukeduck the other one, Sid Yana in the mid lane with his jungler and support. And then start pushing in all these lanes here, because Elements, they want to team fight. You know, they want to have these big wombo combo team fights. Vitality wants to avoid that by always pushing the lanes first and force Elements to always split up and defend these lanes like Steve is trying to do here in the bottom lane against this Rift Hell buffed Lucian and his minions. And try to set up a trap. I like the play from Spraddle. Triple dash and a flash, however, buys enough time for Nukeduck.
That it does. And of course, Kasing using his ultimate again to thwart any follow-up aggression. There was no cannon barrage from Steve. Maybe. That could have been some additional damage, but either way, Vitality play it out. So this is probably going to be the hook, I'm hoping, on slow-mo.
Yeah, so basically, Vitality trying to push out all three lanes. Elements can react early enough. Oh, that's beautiful. I like it from Spraddle. Shooting it straight away Nukeduck would never do anything because he would obviously just dash around it, so you gotta try and predict where he's going to. Oftentimes you will shoot completely wrong. Other times you know the exact range he's dashing, and then you say he most likely will go either left or right, and then you fire it there, and you're kind of 50-50. It's not all pure skill. No. I mean, you don't exactly know where he's going to dash.
I'm aware of that, but I think you explained that very, very well. Congratulations to Spraddle. This is the third time he's played Thresh. 1 win, 1 loss. And he's got a good death sentence now, but it needs to result in more. Lane pressure being applied on the top by Elements. They've got 3 members up top. And you can see Sean's on screen worrying as his team is about to suffer some tower damage. But luckily, Vitality's Nukeduck and Shook have control of the bottom half of the map. So actually, Nukeduck's going to take this tower way before Elements can.
So whenever you play against a 1-3-1 setup, the trick is always that you try and control mid lane, and you try and then control one of the side lanes. And when you get to force the other team back on the map, that's when you can try and force a team fight around a tower. You can try and get into the enemy jungle and see if you can set up a fight with your great team fighting composition. If you do not push that advantage and you do not control those 2 lanes, the 1-3-1 will just keep happening over and over and over. They'll keep knocking on the door. Doesn't matter if you don't open it, they'll just keep staying there forever, forever, forever. And then slowly but surely, you will start getting pressured so much you lose basically the entire map. So for Elements, it's really about being proactive when they have those small windows. Once we see like Vitality go back to base, like now, the whole map is kind of reset. Only Nukeduck is pushed up, but he can't do anything because he's alone. Now you need to push mid if you are Elements. You need to run mid with 4 people. Set a slow push top with Rylus and then run mid and try and force a fight. Otherwise, Vitality will go back top lane and push in all 3 lanes again and again and again.
So for Vitality about pushing those towers, Elements looking for the team fight. You've seen the damage that Steve already has with just that Trinity Force. He's going to continue to scale up, and we're on track for a slightly slower game here, Fisher. So the longer this goes, will the slightly more traditional team comp of Elements begin to outscale Vitality? Or do you like this double AD assassin combo?
I mean, Elements will definitely outscale if you just look at like champion for champion, Gangplank, Victor in the late game. But Vitality will have a lot of damage at all stages in the game because there is no tank on the side of Elements. And that means even if one team is technically outscaling, one big team fight where, you know, a great charm from Nukeduck, it can be enough for Vitality to win the game. So we have these very explosive, very back and forth games. But it takes a lot of time before we get there. Because Elements is trying to scale up. Vitality is not allowing them by constantly pushing over and over, delaying Elements from ever grouping, which is basically what they're doing. And we see how Elements, when they actually have the chance to try and force a 4-man play, they stick to side lanes. And that's why Vitality can now go back, and you see again in your minimap, they're pushing every single lane, and Elements lost that window they had to try and make a play themselves.
So Elements did elect to take down the Rift Herald, sitting in Gelius's hands. Nukeduck continues to put pressure up top and smites away the red buff. Means it's denied from Mr. Rolls. The rest of Vitality continue to apply tower pressure down bottom. We're about to hit 20 minutes. Cabo, with that piercing up, and look at this, Nukeduck will be able to solo this tower, and he's got all the safety of Spirit Rush if any pressure to arrive. Another tower in favor of Vitality.
Elements has been the worst team in the LCS at playing from behind. 100%. Because whenever they're forced to play from behind, their very passive playstyle just gets punished even more. Because if you can never be proactive, you can never really come back into the game unless the other team makes a massive mistake. And like Capuchat now just dives Steve and like randomly dies to him, and then Baron dies as well out of the blue and Elements get the Baron buff. But that never happens. Or should never happen.
Should never.
So Vitality can just honestly play this super slow. They don't need any kills.
Yeah.
They just need all the outer turrets. Then they need in 5 minutes time to start setting up for Baron. Pick up the Baron and walk down and say, okay, your base is dead. And the game is over, and we just have 1 kill to 0, and it's perfectly fine.
Well, not fine if you have them on your fantasy team, that's for sure.
I have Nukeduck.
But absolute control from Vitality. You did talk about Nukeduck a second ago, and to go back to the itemization discussion,
yes.
This Morellonomicon next, so the changes to the Spooky Ghosts, moving it a little bit out of solo lanes.
Yeah.
Still saw it on Lulu in Challenger, if memory serves correctly.
Wicked,
was
yeah.
talking to us about it. And there's the goal difference at 20 minutes.
Look at that number.
Yeah, 1,100 in wins, minus 6,000. They're only half of that down in this game, though, for sure.
But even though they're only half of it down, they've had almost no control of the map ever since the game started, basically. This was the first time we saw Elements group mid. But look at top lane. There's no minion pressure from Elements on top side right now. So Vitality doesn't have to care about top lane. It's just a dead lane for them at the moment. Bot lane as well, we're just in the middle. So them grouping mid right now from Elements meant Vitality can just go mid and defend super easy. It is still better for Elements if they get them in there 5v5 potentially. But you're more or less relying on being able to set up dragons or barons at this point. Because you have no engage either.
I feel like that's probably going to be a big deal for Vitality. If we consider, once you get down to those inhibitor turrets, Gangplank, MF, Victor, the value goes up significantly unless Vitality can keep pushing multiple lanes. So we need to see how Elements are going to play aggressive.
Elements here sightseeing. Before, I'll talk about it after because Steve he might be in trouble.
Steve is in trouble. The culling comes down. Cabo's not going to take anything from this. Flash
We have seen this before, by the way.
Just so easy.
Long lane. A champion who only has his flash really to escape against Lucian. CDR boots.
Rise in the audience. A big fan of that play.
CDR on Ghostblade, you know, low mobility and the dashing it. But Elements before, if you guys noticed, they were looking at Vitality take the dragon. They're kind of like clapping, being like, hey, go you're taking dragon. And they were doing nothing with it. Why don't you rush mid there?
Oh, look how clever this is. Vitality see an opportunity. Abyssal Voyage. They deliver Hyun into the inner turret, and that will be the 4th of the game. Now, the outer turret's still standing because Ike has been wave clearing. He's been playing a PvE matchup, 241 CS in 23 minutes, but quietly farming up power. Got the Morellonomicon, got Abyssal, close to 1,000 gold. Still going to be relevant against a very squishy Vitality team.
If you ever get a team fight.
Yeah.
If you ever get a team fight before it's too late.
It might be too late.
I like also what Vitality's doing here. Instead of trying to ARAM mid lane, which we see in some other regions from time to time, where teams like stand, look at each other in mid lane for 10-15 minutes doing nothing, they don't value chipping away damage on mid tower. They value pushing in lane and walk into the enemy jungle. They'd rather set up for that big play where you can take a full tower down than get like 2 or 3 hits on mid tower. So every time they push it down, they walk into the enemy jungle, and that has resulted in getting out of turrets gone. Now you kind of have to make some plays around mid tower because there's nothing left on the map. But I really like that from Vitality. It's good adaptation. Play more around side lanes and the enemy jungle than the mid tower itself.
So Vitality have to change the strategy because there's no more side lane towers to take down. But
Start
you can
setting up
see
Baron.
Cabo already pushing that wave in. He does not have teleport where Steve does, so keep an eye on that if anything breaks up. But Rawls, he's pushing in a wave up top and going to arrive maybe a little late to this party. The rest of Vitality positioning for Baron.
Yeah, again, you just buy a ton of pink wards at this point. You always control mid lane anyway. You've been doing it all game long. push it in, walk into the river, set up your first layer of deep vision with green wards, and then just put up a pink at Baron, and you can start baiting that one out. And Cabochage just continued doing this over and over. This solution pick has worked so well.
And look at the pressure in the mid lane. Elements, they're grouping top. Ika's left to wave clear, forced to use Chaos Storm. But because of the threat everywhere else, Nukeduck, he finds a charm onto Gilius. Gilius will be able to survive. There's simply no way to get a numbers advantage if you're Elements, because Vitality are playing them like puppets.
And because Elements is always waiting for Vitality to spread out in the lanes. They might get Nukeduck now.
This time around, the Death Sentence doesn't connect. The bullet time does, but Elements throw everything at Nukeduck, and they do not get the kill. There's support now from the rest of Vitality. 4 members onto the exposed inhibitor. Steve has already used his cannon barrage for the one-on-one, and the inhibitor is taken down. The outer turret is the cost, and that's something Vitality will be exceptionally happy with.
It's a very good macro game from Vitality here. Always looking to make proactive plays in side lanes. Always just playing around towers and vision over kills. Have we seen Nukeduck try and sit in a bush, wait for someone? No, not a single time. He's always pushing lanes, showing himself on the map. And that's why it's 2 kills to 0. Because Elements are just so slow at reacting all the time. And this comp they were building, super strong team fights, great 2v2 lane. Never really had much of an impact because they have lane swap. Nidalee normally does well when she's in a poke composition. This is definitely not a poke composition. And Gila has not really been able to have any impact. And in team fights, it's gonna look even worse for him.
You mean those mythical things?
Yes.
They are far from the story of this game, but very, very good play from Vitality. So far, cool, calm, and collected. Now that they've got super minions in the bottom lane, let's see how they play around either mid or Baron. The culling used just to force away Elements in the mid as Vitality defend their outer turrets. They've only lost the top and bottom outers, and look at the supers in your mini-map. They're getting closer and closer to the steps of Elements base. I think that's when somebody has to go deal with that, that's when Vitality can peel back for Baron. But they don't have the greatest amount of vision yet.
Right now, the only thing Sean's is thinking, sitting there watching this game, is, guys, we are so far ahead on the map. I don't see a single... Wait, I see 1 pink ward from Vitality down on the map. I see 1 in the bag of Shook, and that's it. There should be 5 pink wards down from Vitality at this point.
Disappointed Dad Deficio's back.
I mean, that Baron should be completely lit up with pink wards. So that as soon as Elements have to send someone down and defend something, you just walk in there and force a fight. Or you just force the Baron, honestly. Or you force mid tower with it. Elements have more pink wards right now than Vitality.
Are you disappointed?
I am. Especially because Kissing was the guy buying the most pink wards.
I can hear
and
it.
he sits on a biscuit.
Biscuits are important at 27 minutes. What if you get hungry? What if you need a snack?
It's 150 HP.
So listen, Dragon will be spawning in 30 seconds. Baron is available.
And Kissing is going to sell his biscuit now.
Let's
buy
see.
a pink ward.
Watch the inventory.
If not, I will leave.
You can't because
You have
what
to solo
am I
cast
gonna
the rest.
do?
No, I didn't sell the biscuit. I'm out.
Well, he completed the Locket of the Iron Safari.
Fine,
so
that makes more sense anyway.
look, I'm telling you, you need snacks. When you're running around and going on your, jogs through the jungle, if you don't have muscle food, you can't keep it up.
That's very true. And also, I mean,
I'm not the one that should be giving health advice.
who else from this office could possibly give health advice? I don't know anyone who really works out that much.
No, nor do I. Nobody really looks after themselves now.
Yeah, no.
Well, Sprattle's been caught by a cocoon. There's a lantern from... No, I lied to you. It was Gilius that was caught, and Sprattle lanterned him to safety.
I'm actually angry at Kissing because by him just upgrading his item, he didn't need to sell the biscuit because he didn't need the item slot anymore. So we still look at that biscuit for now.
So, Deficio. Vision is being set up from Vitality around the Baron. They're still trying to put pressure on the mid lane, and they've already got the fruits of the labor, stealing away that blue buff. Now, there's still a risk. If they start Baron, that's a way for Elements to start a team fight. Ooh, Mr. Rolls, you don't really want this fight. There's a 3-level difference. Cabochard pops the Ghost Blade, and then backs away as there's support coming in. And the rest of Vitality now playing this one a little bit safely.
Oh, Ika.
Oh, there we go. Charm does connect. Ika's in trouble. Nukeduck goes forward, dashes away from the gravity field. It's a double kill from Fionin as he does get stunned up. A gobble there from Kissing.
Fionin?
Fionin.
Great player, Fionin.
I almost got away with it. I almost got away with it. If it wasn't for that pesky, disappointed dad. Good double up.
I'm not that
Of Mr. Rolls. And Fjarnan will stay alive. But look at that, 2 more kills, easily.
Oh, wait, Kasing's gonna go back to base again.
Open up by Nukeduck's charm.
All right, let's see if that biscuit survives one more. Ah, it's a replay first, fine. All right, so Nukeduck, great engage. He gets the cleanse, Ike is flashing, but at this point you still have more dashes on the Ahri. And you're just so far ahead, you have so much damage. You can see where Sprattle and Brothers are moving. You know it's a safe play. Fjarnan gets saved by Kasing. Biscuit is still there.
Biscuit's still there, because he's not hungry yet. Baron's been started.
But there's no pink ward now.
Well, doesn't need it. And you know the death time as Vitality take an unchallenged Baron. They also got the outer turret middle. And now they can just continue playing the side lanes. I mean, there's no need to do anything else.
Now again, Vitality completely mind-gamed elements in the pick and ban phase.
They mind-gamed us.
Sure, I mean, come on. How could we predict a Lucian top lane?
I didn't try. You should have.
Okay, my bad, my bad. But like, Steve was basically thinking it was gonna be GP versus Tahm Kench top lane. They were expecting it to be Corki mid lane against wave-clearing Victor. And then because the whole swap started happening and Nukeduck locks in Ahri as the last pick, GP was suddenly against an 80 carry top, where you're too weak in the early game to really duel him, deal any damage to him. And whenever you were in these long lanes, there was all this threat of Cabochard just jumping him over and over and killing him, which happened a few times. They're just completely mind-gamed elements.
Very clever. Cabochard might be in trouble here. Does have already used his flash. That's a big hit from Parlay. Cabo actually almost got the 1v2, but look at on bottom. Nukeduck has pushed in with Baron-empowered minions. The inhibitor's down to 50% HP, and Shook's coming in for support. Death Sentence goes short. Cocoon into Spirit Rush. Nukeduck is not going to find the Orb of Deception. Cabochard will finish him off. He's jumped in for the fight. A defensive flash from Nukeduck. He gets eaten. Kasing keeps him alive. Spits him back out, and now Fjarnan is backing away. Cabochard's still on the front line. He finally goes down after picking up a triple kill. Steve chains the barrels together, but it's too little and too late. 3 for 1 and in hit.
Again, we're only 31 minutes in. Oh, well, we're already 31 minutes in. And yes, there are very few kills in the game, but there's been so much action against towers. PvE all game long from Vitality. They've been playing out 1-3-1 extremely well. This Dragon, Trevor, is going down. Kasing is going back another time. Let's see if Biscuit survives.
We'll never find out, I'm afraid.
Every time he goes back, there's a replay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sprattle dies. Cabochard rushes in with Home Guard. It's like, my kill, all me, by the way.
Well, he earned it. Follows up with a triple.
Sure, he had to TP for it. I mean,
another cocoon onto Ica. Shook started this entire setup by catching Sprattle out and then follows it up onto Ica as well. Just very good play. And, you know, like you said, Deficio, mind games, right from the very beginning. Vitality, picking a comp that was interesting and then executing it well. I don't care about the biscuits. Stop pointing at it.
Yes, you just mentioned it. I didn't point at anything.
Yeah,
you just pointed out.
Nobody else can see how distracting it is. You waving your arm around in front of the screen at the no longer biscuit.
I was exercising.
Yeah.
We're talking about being healthy, working out quite a lot.
One of our refs is pretty gym mad, so we might have to get some advice from him.
Yeah, because I really don't think any casters are doing anything.
No, they're really not. Wow, Vitality now. Super minions pouring through the bottom lane. That's going to start pushing onto those Nexus turrets. No real defense from elements onto the middle inhibitor. That's the second of the game now. Third, rather, as Vitality have got a 10,000 gold lead.
And I feel like Vitality's been standing here for the last, 6-7 minutes around the base of Elements, just over and over, kind of just waiting to finish this game. But Elements won't allow them. They have to respect that one-more combo that can happen.
Yeah.
But at this point, you're just so far ahead. One of the great things about these 80 carries and 80 bruises is you can build like more Memorials. It's a great item against AP. It's super, super strong. So it even makes an 80 carry in some way a little bit more tanky.
Well, this is big here for Cabo. With that little bit of tankiness. Culling onto Ica means he's been forced away and his flash is down. Bullet time not used for the fight. Kasing has Fjarnan in his belly. He did get caught by the death sentence, but is able to flash away. The box goes down, but it's not really effective, and the tower fell in the background. Nukeduck, as well as Cabochard, playing on the side lane. They're escorting the super minions in. The rest of Vitality now onto the third inhibitor. The last one standing. giant missiles from Hyonin. He's just melting Element's HP bars, and Steve stands there doing what he can to wave clear. Nexus turret is all that remains in Element's base, and Vitality, they've got double super spawning with 3 inhibitors down.
And again, Vitality, it's paying off for them. Keeping picks like Gangplank open and then trying to find counters for it. Now Steve is there with 3 items, but like his base is gone. It's way too late for him to do anything.
Really, really is. Vitality onto this last Nexus turret. They played a near flawless game. The Charm finds its target onto Gilius. Elements, they simply cannot defend. They have no ultimates, and they have no way to pull this one back. Vitality are onto the Nexus. The fight is going to break out. Gilius is the victim. Bullet time gum back up, but it does not matter. It's time for a win in Vitality's favor.
And this very much is a Vitality way of winning games. They are actually fairly slow-paced in the way they like to play out. Often very safe. Sometimes it can be too safe, but in this case here, we can't really complain about anything. Surprises in the pick and ban phase. Fooling us, fooling Elements. Giving Capuchat a great lane matchup on top lane. We saw how quickly they could take down the tower in the lane swap. Then, okay, he pushed a wave, but it meant that Steve walked into a lane with no towers and he could just keep trading against him. And like, the Gangplank first pick, because of how Vitality built their composition and played against it, only like basically hit a point where he was super strong 30 minutes into the game where his team's already lost.
And you have to step back and look at Vitality. They've only banned Gangplank once in their 7 games. They're letting it slide through. They've tried to run an Olaf as a counter. They've run it themselves. We know that both Nukeduck and Cabo like to play it. And now we've seen the Lucian pick into GP. That's a lot of mind games when you start thinking, how do other teams react? Sean's on stage ecstatic with the team's performance because it was complete control the whole way through.
Yeah, 100%. Same kind of thing we've seen from Elements though before, where once they start falling behind, they have no engage, they don't understand how to be proactive when there is a small window. So they have these very slow games where they just like basically slowly lose the game.
Yeah.
We saw it last week, actually in both games, honestly, where Elements didn't really have much of an impact on the map, and it was just kind of slowly, you were waiting. It could take 40 minutes, but they would just keep getting further and further behind, and there was never really a chance of them getting back into the game. This was a MF, Victor, Gangplank comp, which didn't get a single team fight.
No.
In 35 minutes. Because why would you? The current meta is about playing on multiple lanes and actually trying to win the game without fighting. That is the current meta. If you can always push the lanes faster and then get into the jungle and force people away from their towers and then take them for free, then you play a perfect meta game in Season 6.
That's what it felt like Vitality did. Very, very small play. For Elements, that's the 3rd game in a row now that they've lost. 0-2 last week. They lost here today. It's tough because, you know, they picked up some wins against some of the weaker squads at the beginning of the split, beating out Splice, beating out Rocket, I think Giants as well. And now they're being tested a little bit more on the individual level as well as the macro level.
Yeah.
And additional growth is needed here.
I mean, nobody expected Elements to go in and challenge the top teams, even after the 3-1. It was like, no, you guys played the weaker teams. So they did their job. Beat the teams that you are most likely going to fight, you know, for the rest of the season in terms of avoiding relegation and getting to playoffs, and they beat those teams. So they need to just do that again, and that's it.
Yeah, need to learn a lot from some of these losses against some of the tougher squads. For now, we're going to head on stage to Pyrotechnics for a